All right, so here's the intermediate value theorem. It's just basically saying this. If we know that that we have a continuous function, which this is, you can see, and we know the graph uh, exists at, say, a point A, and we'll call point A on the left. We'll say it's on the left, which it is here. And there's a point B over here on the right, and we know exists at both points. Then we know that we can find something in between it, and we'll call that one C. The reason we can say that is because we know it's continuous, so we know there's no breaks in the graph. And so if it exists on the left, at a left point, and exists on the right point, then it's got to exist in the middle as well, because there's no breaks. So that's what the intermediate value theorem states. If you can find A on the left, you can find B on the right, well, then you can find a value C in the middle. All right, so here it says determine between which consecutive integers, the real zeros of this function, are located on the interval from -2 to 2. And this is including -2 and 2. So what it's saying is here, it's like -2 here. This value is the value A. Okay, so this is where x equals A, if you will, and this would be f of A up here. Now this point at 2, that's where we're going to say x equals B. This is the right point. So I'm trying to tie in what you just saw. This would be f of B. Well, since we know the graph exists here and here, we know it must exist in the middle. And not only that, we can state that it crosses over the x-axis, so there must be zeros. So the zeros are located between -1 and 0. We can count and see between -1 and 0, we have a 0, and we also have one between +1 and +2. So we have 2 zeros here. Here's how you would write that. You'd say the 2 zeros are found, plural, 2 zeros are found between -1 and 0, and the other is between 1 and 2. And that's how you would write that. That's where our 2 zeros are located, between those two intervals. Okay? Example 3b. Determine which consecutive integers, the real zeros, of this function here, this cubic function, are located on the interval. So again, we're looking between two values. Now they say look between -2 and 2. And if I'm looking in between there, I see that there's no zeros that occur. The only zeros that occur are between these values here. Now, I don't know what just happened with my graph here, but I have some duplicate values. You can see there's kind of a mistake here in the picture. If we're counting by 2s, which it looks like this would be -2, this would be -4 there, this would be -6. I'm confused on what happened to my graph, but let's just rename it. Between there are no zeros. Because this is confusing, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to stop this video, and I'm going to change this graph, and I'll come right back on. Okay, I've changed my graph, so now we'll be able to find some. So again, we're looking between the interval between -2 here and +2. We want to find in between these two spots, where would you find a 0? Well, the only 0 I see is this one that occurs right there. That's in between -2 and -1. So the 1 0 is found between -2 and -1. And that would be your answer here.